You're listening to the Jay Bird Watching Podcast, the official podcast of jaysjournal.com and fansite.com. We are the official ballroom chat for everything Toronto Blue Jays baseball, from game highlights to rumors and all the stuff in between. Here's your host, Craig Borden, with co-hosts Jason Lyons and Liz McGuire. Now let's talk some Toronto Blue Jays baseball.
Good evening, Blue Jays fans, and welcome to another evening of Jay Bird Watching. I am your host, Craig Borden. With me, my counterpart here, Liz McGuire. How the heck are you doing over there?
I'm awesome. Okay, I just want to say this. It's been a while since we've won a lot of games, like all smashed together. And we've just won 12 out of 14 games. Jays have won 5 series in a row. The baseball players are hitting the ball, and they're also catching the ball. But not only are they hitting or catching, but they're throwing the ball. And so it's been awesome. So I feel really awesome. I'm stoked about the Jays. I'm doing the thing where I'm like, ooh, look at like 4 games out. I'm chasing like numbers of standings. And so it's good to feel momentum again. You know, it's good to feel like we are winning. Winning is fun. Winning is a lighter feeling. You know, and it's a good
Stuff like that in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's awesome. Anyway.
And we were like, is this team ever going to hit?
Yeah. So it's like, it's fun to be here. It won't be forever, but it's fun right now.
Good deal. And to have fun with us in full uniform and everything, Brian Pirrip. It's been a little bit since we've had you on the show because I believe we called Freddie Freeman's home run the last time you were on the show.
That we did, Craig. That was a magical moment in life. I cannot believe that happened still.
Yeah. Us Blue Jays fans love the Dodgers win on that one because we got to root for Kevin Kiermaier and Teoscar Hernandez, who we obviously were very fond of in Toronto Blue Jays fandom. But take us back a few months. What was it like getting that World Series win for you?
Oh man, it was fantastic. It's I don't count the 2020 World Series win. No fans in the stadium kind of situation. To me, that was not a Dodgers, victory the way that any of us wanted it to be. So in my mind, the last time the Dodgers really won the World Series was 1988, and I was kind of just beginning to watch baseball, so I didn't understand what really was going on. I remember seeing the Kirk Gibson home run. I remember seeing Hershiser pitching, but it's still, kind of flashes. The memory isn't super strong. And so this World Series, especially after, lost to the Astros, a few years before, it meant a lot. I watched every single game I could. And I was at a local bar here in Huntington Beach, and a hardcore group of Dodgers fans were all sitting in there together. We were the same group of people that are going in every day. I caught one of the games at Dodger Stadium, but it was the energy here in Huntington Beach, Orange County, was just mind blowing, and it really felt like this. It's about time kind of feeling, So it's magical. I'll never forget that moment. But for me, the moment that really mattered was that Freddie Freeman home run.
It was so quintessential. That was the perfect writing. You couldn't chalk it up any better. I know we goofed around on it the night before. It's like, oh man, it'd be really cool if he was able to Kirk Gibson this and run with it. And then I saw the home run in about 5 minutes after that. I was like, just thumbs were going wild, messaging you, and it was just too funny that we had that video, both of us, up on the internet in like 5 seconds afterwards, and it was just
perfect,
so much fun.
And you set that up perfectly, and I just love that that kind of poetic kind of do-over again of Kirk hurting himself and then hitting that walk-off home run, but Freddie being hurt and then hitting that home run is just. It was like the same thing over again, but it meant a lot more to me because, I'm older and wanted the Dodgers to win for such a long time, and it just never happened. So that to me was one of the great sports moments of my life now.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I think that's one of the better World Series moments we've had in a long time, too. There's always home runs. There's big ones like we've always obviously enjoyed with Joe Carter and the Blue Jay fandom being the second largest one and all that kind of good stuff. But at the end of the day, it was fun to see that kind of thing again because we hadn't seen something epic in that home run like the Freddie Freeman home run in years in a World Series.
Yeah. It had that Reggie Jackson kind of feeling, or the days gone by that you hear about in storied legend, and here we were getting a chance to see it live on the television, and never forget it.
Good stuff. Jason Lyons coming in hot. How we doing, buddy? We're talking World Series because the last time we actually had Brian on the show, we called Freddie Freeman.
Yeah, we did. It was a pretty impressive The whole thing was awesome. I kept getting notes and messages from people on how hilarious it was, and it was a really good time. So good to see you again, Brian.
Hey, what's happening, Jason? Good to see you.
So on that note, Brian, obviously it's the current season. It's 2025. Dodgers are still playing like the Dodgers. Your fandom's got to be still doing just as good as it was last season, is my assumption.
Wait, I want to know, is your fandom tied to how many pitchers are injured?
Yeah. Dodgers and I are beefing right now. So, ever since I got escorted out of the stadium last week or two, there's a small beef there. And, I'm going to keep fighting. I'm going to keep bringing baseball cards until eventually, until the Dodgers actually are supporting it and inviting me to come down, field passes, handing out. I'm going to keep doing it until they let me. It's a matter of time.
Yeah.
I'm tenacious.
I do love that you. I love that you do that, though, because it is the coolest thing in the world. And I will say your spirit in that whole thing is infectious, because I've been doing it, especially now that I've been working at We the Hobby here in Rochester, New York. It's been just like, now it's just part of my life at this point. I love that you had that just, let's hang out, let's rip some cards, and you just invite everybody in. I just think it's the coolest thing on the planet. So keep doing it. They're going to just knock that door in at some point.
Yeah, well, the first time it happened, it was actually at Dodger Stadium. I didn't intend for it to happen. It was this is back in 2021, I think, and me and a couple of my buddies, I thought, well, it's kind of fun how about we open some packs at our seats in the upper deck and just kind of like, talk about the cards. I had just started my channel, maybe a few months before, so we were just really new to social media. And so I'm walking down the upper deck, getting to our seats with a box of 89 tops. And, I actually really like 89 tops. That's just me. It's such a special year. And I think I bought the box for $10 at the local card shop here. And I'm walking down the steps and some big guy goes, "Hey man, are those baseball cards?" And I said, "Yeah." And I said, they're Topps cards. And he goes, "Can I have a pack?" And I was like, 36 packs. Okay, I'll give him one. So I handed him a pack, no big deal. And it was like instantly the stands all around, everyone saw me hand a pack from me to this guy sitting there. And it was like everyone jumped up and started saying, "I want one, I want one." And so I turned to one of the guy that I took, and he films all my stuff. And so I was like, "Turn on the camera, bro. Like, I think something's about to happen." And so he turned on the camera, and the next one, I kind of chucked it into the air. Somebody caught it. And so I started just kind of throwing them around in the Dodgers upper deck. And those 36 packs completely disappeared quickly. And when we finished, it was kind of like this, what just happened kind of moment. And so we're like, I think we just did something. Let's do this again. So we did it at like Angels Stadium. Then we flew up to Chicago, did it up at Detroit at Tigers, did it at Cubs. And it just became this thing. And we started doing it at every stadium we went to. And we've done 20 of them now. And every experience, it's just people want the cards. But the best thing of all is you'd think, okay, they want the cards because they want free stuff. But what we've always noticed is that through the rest of the game, people start trading cards with each other. And they're like, "Oh, you have a Nolan Ryan, I got a George Brett. Let's do a trade." And so that's what I find interesting, is how much it's not just about wanting free stuff. These people are actually going through the cards the rest of the game, trading with each other. And then usually by the end of the game, a few people will come up to me and, thank me or say, "Hey, what channel is this?" Or what are you doing with baseball cards? And so it's always become a thing. And it's only been just those 2 times at Dodger Stadium where I've been turned away the last 2 times, but I'm not deterred.
Now, Brian, have you ever considered, maybe, I'm sure that you've got contacts, players that play in the majors. Have you ever considered reaching out? I mean, it works for me on Instagram to one of the Dodgers and just saying, "Hey, like Kiki, like some of these guys would be, Chris Taylor, I think, they'd be down with stuff like this." And so you're like, maybe the direct route, like actually say, "Hey, I'm just going to give you a stack of cards. Can you give them away?" And when security comes, just say, "Hey, look, if it's okay for them to do it, why can't it be okay for me?" You know what I mean? Like something like that.
Yeah, no, I kind of liked the whole nobody knew who we were kind of thing, and going in all organically rather than doing it kind of field passes on the field with the players. But I am going to start doing a lot more of that this year. Like we're going to be launching a new series sometime in the fall that's going to be it's going to blow some people's mind as far as the kind of the access that we have and who we're going to be opening stuff with and giving cards to. Yeah,
Cool.
for at least that one's still is sorting out a lot of the details, but it's going to blow some people's minds.
Sweet.
It's really
Sneak
cool.
here, everybody. Just saying.
It's the first time I'm probably publicly mentioning it, but it's like it is my ultimate dream series that I'm about to do.
Awesome.
And it's I think it's going to be a very inspiring series, and we're putting all of our time, effort, and money into this one to get it done right. But even the players themselves are going to really like what we're doing. So that will come in the fall.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you already do all your awesome work with your quests and everything that you go from card shop to card shop to card shop. And you have found some really cool places in the midst of your travels that I'm sitting here going, okay, great. I'm going to go on like the Brian Pirrip Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives tour instead of Guy Fieri here and see where I can go
66.
as I'm wandering around. Exactly. And so
that's not a waste.
Out of those places, where have you liked the most? I know there's a lot of them that you've been to. What's been the one that, like, I won't say the one or the specific place maybe, but what has drawn you to your favorite card shops while you've been doing these travels?
You know, the thing I learned about card shops is just how absolutely varied they are.
Yeah.
You would think that there's just one kind out there. I mean, there's the kind of local card shop of our youth, you know, that we all know, you know, the small little card shop with a local guy that seems to have been there for 50 years, that kind of guy. And there's always that one person that's sitting there in a chair at the card shop. You don't know what they do for a living. They're just always in the card shop. Who knows what they do? But now there's so much variation. There's the card shops that have been around since the 70s, which I always find remarkable when I come across those. Then there's this super ultra glassy modern kind of stuff. Like, you know, I was just at the Bank card shop, their new grand opening for the kind of their third iteration of the shop, and it's big, it's sterile, it's more like I feel more like I'm at a Walmart than a card shop. Then you've got
boutique level, right?
What's that?
Like the boutique level, right?
Yeah.
You got
There's a card shop I went to just yesterday in Danville, California, kind of up in the Bay Area, and it was beautiful. It was just like kind of this small kind of hometown card shop. It was modern. It was kind of more Apple Store inspired, but also just in very welcoming and kind card shop owner. To me, the card shop owner is about 90% of it.
Yeah.
Really is impacted. So I would say my favorite card shop that I've ever been to as of today is Grand Slam Collectibles in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, which is about an hour south or so of Nashville. And I would say the main reason that card shop is awesome is because the owner, Nate. He's extraordinarily welcoming and kind and has really interesting stories. But he also he and I are from the same era. And so he just happens that his card shop is like a personal museum for me because it's all my favorite stuff. He's got somehow all my favorite stuff. He just put a collection together of every single Diamond King card and autograph.
Oh, wow.
From 1982. Was that the first year of Diamond Kings? 82, I think, where the artist would do the drawing of the Diamond Kings. And so Nate collected every single Diamond King card and the autograph of the players. And so he just put that together just like a week ago and he announced it. And so he's a true collector, is doing it himself. He's made the card shop very accessible. There's like 50-cent packs, like where you can use this corner of junk wax. And it's just like all this wax from back in the day that it makes it very accessible. Some kids not having to spend $30 for some jumbo 2025 Bowman kind of thing. There's a 50-cent pack of 90 Upper Deck you can go and buy. And so I love that there's this huge wall of wax where you could just buy kind of everything. And then there's the expensive wax. He has a section of like, you can buy every year 83 tops, 84 tops, 85, 86. And so there's something there. And then there's the modern section. Then there's the Pokemon and Magic. And so there's kind of something for everyone, but it's him and his wife that run the place. And it's just very welcoming. That one, in my mind, I mean, the local place in Beach, I love because the card shop owner's been there for 40 years. And he's a true collector, loves his people. So he has all of his regulars. He does these kind of raffle things with kids where, you know, he hands them out and they can win free prizes. And so he really cares. And you feel that when you walk into his shop. So I think, you know, I went to this little card shop in Tennessee, middle of nowhere. I accidentally stumbled upon it. And it was some guy in his 90s who was a minor league player back in like the 40s.
Cool.
And
Nice.
I randomly stumbled upon his card shop, truly middle of nowhere. Actually, it was far north Georgia by the border of Tennessee, a little place called Owltown. And the guy let me in. He started telling me stories from, back in the day. And I bought some cards from him. They were all faded because they had been under glass in the sun, but I didn't care. I got the guy's stories. I mean, he ended up dying, and I think his son took over the shop since then. But it's kind of a weird expose, like you said, divers, drive-ins, and dives. I think I got that right. It's like that.
You got it.
Like all over the country, there's these different kinds of ways of understanding, the United States and Canada from going to all these various card shops. You learn about the region, you learn about the people, because the people that are in those card shops are very like a microcosm of the area. So if I'm going into a card shop in Brooklyn, New York, and I'm bonding with people from Brooklyn, and we're connecting over cards. If I'm doing the same in, El Paso, Texas, same experience, different crowd of people. And so I always tell people, like, a trip across the country, just going to card shops would be a very valuable trip in one's life, where you have a reason to go across the country besides just national parks. You're able to kind of crisscross the country, meet people from all over the place, and you always have something to talk about. That is months of time in one's life well spent, in my opinion.
It's a really cool way to do it too. So my first question is, in the midst of your hunting, have you found your Barry Sanders rookie card yet?
Yeah, found it.
You did? Okay.
I
knew that was one that was like on your list forever.
Yeah, it was the Barry Sanders was on the list forever. In fact, we ended up finding 2 of them that day. It was at my barber shop, and every time I go to my barber shop in Mission Viejo, California, I would bring in a few packs of 89 score football looking for Barry Sanders, and we never found him until I had like 3 packs left in the box, and I gave one to one barber, one to the other barber, and while I'm sitting there in the chair, half my hair's cut, and both of them ended up finding like a Barry Sanders in those last 2 packs. It was incredible.
Last pack magic. Good stuff. So in the midst of your obviously your travels and everything, you went to all these wonderful ballparks, and you get to see all these wonderful stories. You mentioned a few of them that you've collected here and you're talking about while you're traveling. Is there one that stands out amongst the rest that's kind of like, this is the coolest story I've heard in a while in the midst of my traveling, or a recent one that stands out?
Oh man. Usually
I know I'm putting you on the spot now.
No. It's not on the spot. It's more like 30 stories jumped into my head right then. Is usually what happens is I'll go to a card shop. There'll be people that will know me in the card shop, and we'll film, some content. And then afterwards, it's when I turn the cameras off, where then the real stories come out, where people want to tell me about like their, to take them to card shop. She died, and or the family house burnt down. They lost their cards. Now they're trying to get their collection back. I've heard more incredibly powerful, moving stories in card shops. Like it's by people that have followed my channel, and that cards have this way of connecting people that wouldn't have otherwise connected. And so it's just, I always say my favorite of all of them was going back to Tennessee again, when I met a guy named Joe, who had been down on his luck, had a really hard time in life. He had some problems with addictions and things, and came across my channel and said it kind of reminded him of his childhood. So we were at this card shop in Johnson City, Tennessee, and we started opening packs together. I ended up giving him like a Griffey rookie card, which was like his favorite card when he was a kid. And that kind of just, overwhelmed him in that moment. And he started telling me some of the things going on in his life. And we really, bonded over it. In fact, this is a really cool story. So that was like 3 years ago that I met Joe at that card shop in Tennessee. And I had this idea. I was like, Joe kind of, to me, symbolizes a lot of people in this country, a lot of people that love collecting, more salt of the earth, not a lot of funds, and they can't, buy the new stuff or whatever. And so I thought it would be fun I actually called him up recently, and I filmed myself calling him. And I said, Joe, he's never been on a plane before. Okay. And so I thought, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to pay for Joe to fly to the National this summer. I'm going to put him up in a hotel, get his airfare, the whole 9 yards. And I'm going to fly him as kind of a representative of everybody who can't come to the National. And his favoriteest card of all time, the most favorite card of all time is 1968 Topps Nolan Ryan. As Joe's pitcher when he was growing up and loves baseball so much more than almost anyone I've ever met. And so what I'm going to do, and he doesn't know this yet, but I'm going to...
Hopefully he's not listening.
No, he knows I'm going to help him find the Nolan Ryan, but I've got a budget in mind, and I'm going to help him cruise around the National, and I'm going to help him find his all-time favorite card, and we're going to do a hashtag Joe Knows. So if anybody, like Bo knows, Joe knows, anybody who sees Joe at the National and takes a photo with him and kind of tags that hashtag, I'm going to do like giveaways of hobby cases, the Mint hobby cases, giveaway cards, whatever. I just want people to make Joe feel extremely welcome at the National as, again, a representative of all the people that great, awesome, salt of the earth people that are unable to go to the National for many variety of reasons. He'll be their representative on behalf of all of them. So that's something we're doing. And so our quest this summer is Joe finding the Nolan Ryan rookie card. And I'm going to pick up the cost of the whole thing.
There you go. Joe knows. Good luck, Joe.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Kind of cool,
awesome.
right?
Yeah.
Liz, Jason, I know you guys are part-time tonight because you got kids and running around to do and whatnot. I'm going to let you.
I got a baseball game to go
to. At Brian here.
I'm actually going to a Vancouver Canadians game. I'm really quite excited at this point right now. I get to go see Narjun Amala tonight, and he's starting at short. And I talked to Nick, who is going to be on the show next week. And Nick's going to come over. We're in a little bit of a box situation. He's going to come over, and I'm hoping that that he can meet the boys and we can, shake some babies and take some pictures. But Brian, I did want to, make sure I popped on, because I do appreciate every time you come. It's funny when you were talking there, the thing that came to my mind is, have you seen how A&E has done the thing where they send the WWE wrestlers on the road to find their memorabilia to bring it back to I think you've got something in a show there where you could not only use cards, but you could advance it past memorabilia where you find, what was the classic one where the guy pawned his Heisman ring in Vegas? Could you create a show that went and did those? So you found, Reggie Jackson's glasses or, cool stuff like that.
Jason, have you been spying on my internal Mint discussions?
Ask Craig. I do this stuff all the time.
You're not that far off, man. You're not that far off.
That's gonna be sick.
That's good stuff, Jason.
Well played.
I got to bust out.
And obviously,
see you, Jason. We'll see you.
Hi to our buddy Nick. Say hi to our buddy Nick, the reigning player of the week.
Woo!
Yeah.
Get us Arjan. Get us Arjan. Come on.
I'll try.
You know what? I went to my first card show ever, I think it was 2 months ago. I'd never been to a card show. I was kind of spooked out. I was very overwhelmed at all the things to look at. But you know what? I started talking to people. And it was like talking to people. I talked to a guy named Ethan, and Ethan was he was a second generation card dealer. He took over his dad's business. And hearing stories like that of because that is what drew me into the hobby. Yeah, I got made into a Topps card. That it did happen. But it was also
a little bit.
No, but that's the hobby was really nice to me. People are always sending me stuff. They were so sweet to me. As well as there was a community there. I was this isn't just there's a identifiable community of people, which is the best. So that's it. I'm just emphasizing.
No, it's more than just about the cards, and that's what this thing is for me. Is when I first started doing what I was doing, I thought it was the cards.
Yeah.
And as it went along, I was like, "Whoa, this is human connection."
Yeah.
Stories. This is nostalgia. This is grandmothers and grandsons, fathers and daughters. This is something really, really special. It took a while for me to really have my eyes open to it. And that's when I actually started really falling in love with the hobby.
Yeah, I think because I will say this, it is rectangles of men, sometimes women, but it's little cardboard rectangles. But it's something bigger than that, because one of my friends, he's one of those guys who collects one guy. He collects a guy named Chris Colabello, who was playing on the Jays for how long? a year, maybe not even. And he's a guy who collects one guy, and he's passionate about collecting one guy. And I just like love stories like that, where it's like,
yeah, there's millions
I
of
feel
ways.
like I owe you some Rochester Red Wings of Chris Colabello now because I got piles of them being here in Rochester.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brian.
No, there's just so many different ways to collect. And I mean, I've met people that have no idea who the players are on the card. They don't know any stories about them. They couldn't tell any stats. In fact, they mispronounced the names, but it's not even about that. It's about their grandfather who gave them that card, and it reminds them after that person passed, it reminds them of that person, and it's a ratty old card that maybe they had in their wallet for a bunch of years. And that's why I find this fascinating is you got the guys that are just, you know, the grading crowd, and they got all their big money and putting into grades. You got the guys who are chasing one player, or that have, you know, there's the guy in Vegas who's obsessed with all things the A's. He's got every single consecutive McGuire thing on the planet. There's just endless variations, but we all kind of get each other on some. There's people that could, the Canadian Goose, there you go. Or
the Gossage.
These kind of cards of like paintings of Native Americans on horses.
Yeah.
Or burlesque dancers back in the turn of the century. It's just bizarre.
It's fun. It's fun. Yeah.
It's the history of so much Americana and the international stuff. And so I just love how deep and broad this whole thing is. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. It feels like every few months I discover some new section of a hobby.
Yeah. My favorite one I discovered was when I discovered, so I was like discovering the tobacco box, like old bird cards, right? And somebody had amassed a large collection on a Reddit. And what made it so fascinating was a lot of those birds had gone extinct.
Oh, wow. That's
They
wild.
had gone extinct. Mm-hmm. And so those bird cards were from a time when we had those birds with us. And I was such a nerd. I was like, that bird's been extinct. That bird's been extinct. Like, this is so special. So, like, yeah, it's just things like that. It gives you a glimpse of a time that is no longer with us.
And it's very cool, Liz, that you're talking about birds on the bird blue jay.
Yeah, absolutely. Put a bird on it. Yeah.
It's got a bird thing. So, I know you have some personal things in your collection and whatnot. And Brian, I think it's funny that we talked about the personal connection to the card or the story and all those kind of things. Obviously, it's been a while since I think you told this story to us anyways, but one of the first times you were on the show, you actually were telling us about a certain Oakland A that you had when you were a kid, when you were living in Canada at the time, and you have held on to that card for so long. I just thought that would be fitting in the time frame here.
Yeah. I had a Mark McGuire card, and I had a Canseco card. In fact, the one that matters most to me now in retrospect is I had gotten a hold of my very first card ever that I ever got was a 1989 Upper Deck Mark McGuire card, which I still think is the coolest baseball card. It's just, he's standing there, like, it's so different than any other card of that era. He's just standing there from kind of the ground looking up, and he's holding on to this bat. And it's just the composition of the card, plus the design of 89 Upper Deck.
Yeah, they're gorgeous.
It's such a great set. And so I took that card, and I ended up going off to college, and I gave it, I guess I left it with my mom or something. And so she ended up putting it into her Bible, and she would take it with her to like church every Sunday. It's just kind of like a placeholder in there, like a book mark or whatever. And so I totally forgot about that card until like about 20 or I guess I must have given it to her in high school then, because it was years later when I finally started getting back into cards around when I turned about 30, 31. And I remember she sat me down and she's like, I've been holding on to this card for all these years, and it's gone to church with me every Sunday. And I think it's time for you to have it back. And so I took it. That's cool. And put it into one of my mint cases, and it's still, I'd never give that card up.
Give everybody
there we go.
Is that your card?
is that your card?
All legs. He's all legs.
Yeah, he's all legs.
Look at that card. It's so cool.
That's amazing. That series is excellent. That's the same Ken Griffey series, where like the classic one where he's again cute as a button with his like medallion on.
Like this one?
That's the cutest card. Cutest card of all time, right there.
Maybe I have one. We'll find out in a minute.
But I would way rather have the Mark McGuire card than the Griffey card.
I think you should call it the Mark McGuire church card. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, and I always love that card because it ties. It's not about Mark McGuire for me. It's about the moment I got it on the bus in third grade. It's about or fourth grade, and it's about the fact that my mom cherished that card for like a couple decades or however long she had it. And it's about that era, that design. I always thought Upper Deck was the design that was the best of them all. I still think so. Out of any card design of all time, 1989 Upper Deck is still my most loved design. And so aesthetically, it's just so great. It's so great. And so I think with all of that, that's why recently, Chef Kiss. And as I acquired myself a whole case of 1989 Upper Deck, which is 20 boxes. And I brought over a group of my friends one day on May 10th, actually. And we sat outside in my patio, and it's right there, view of the ocean, beautiful spot. And we put up the barbecue, and we're making steaks. And my group ended up ripping a whole case of Upper Deck. It took us an hour and a half to do it. And we had a whiteboard next to us where we kept a log of how many Griffeys, how many Smoltzes, how many Randy Johnsons, how many Sheffields. I got kind of told off on the internet for not counting Craig Biggio's as well, but my bad, everyone, my bad. And then also trying to find, Dale Murphy reverse negative cards. Cool. And so we ripped the box in an hour and a half. We found 19 Ken Griffey Juniors.
Whoa.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. And we're with the plan of, because, we're selling our hobby cases. I thought it would be fun. So instead of just selling the hobby cases, which we're doing anyways, I thought it would be fun to put one card. The reason I did that case was I was like, let's just put every single card from the case. Let's get 10,800 hobby cases, put in one card from that case break into every single case. So instead of just selling a case for that price, let's just throw in a bonus card. And I thought it would make the whole thing a little bit more fun. And then we also still have this one unclaimed. Sorry, Craig, unless you have the golden ticket in there.
Denied.
This
relic.
This is a mint case G1 with the Mickey Mantle Ken Griffey Jr. dual auto on card, which is one of the holy grails of this hobby. And I put this in a G1 case, which is our glass and steel case, laser edge details on the side, computer chip on the inside. And so some person that purchased one of our hobby cases is going to find like a Wonka golden ticket. I hope it's in yours, Craig. That'd be the greatest moment ever.
Let's see.
I will tell you right now, if it is somehow managing to be in this, I will be cherishing that very highly. And or at the point, it will be used to make sure we get some good people to come have fun and rip some baseball cards with us. Maybe that would be the way to spin it back into the hobby here.
Let's go. Let's see. What do you got, Craig?
Craig,
I guess I'm gonna be on the spot now. I got it right here. Make sure nobody sees the fun autographs. So I already cut it.
Okay.
But we're gonna just, which way is it facing? Oh my god, I actually have it in the right direction.
Oh no,
it's not a Griffey, and I can't even tell who it is. But let's just finish.
Who is it?
It's a cubby with an epic mustache. Though. Look at that freaking lip lettuce.
That's Hall of Famer Goose Gossage.
Hold on, this is my Goose Gossage
card.
card.
It looks like.
Yeah, Craig. We both have Goose Gossages. There we go.
That's what it looks like. Is it actually a goose?
Yeah.
It is Goose. It's like Brian. You might have looked at a few of these.
Welcome to Goose Night on the pod, guys.
There you go. Goose Night. It's like you planned that.
No, Liz channeled it.
And Liz, I think I gave you that card, didn't I? It's even funnier.
Craig brought a bunch of baseball cards to give to kids, and I had them, and I was like, and I stole the Goose card. Like, I straight up, sorry, kids. I stole the Goose card because this is the best card. It's got a goose on it.
I don't know what's going on with you guys in your podcast, but channeling the Freddie Freeman and then channeling the Goose Gossage card now out of Craig's. I mean, there's 700 cards in the low set, and so 1 out of 700 was named after is a Goose card, and you channeled it.
I feel good about this.
And I just channeled it on episode 465. I didn't realize I was doing this until somebody actually made me look at my resume the other day that it says I've been doing this since 2018.
Right on.
So it is what it is.
All right, homies, I got to bounce. Brian, thank you for this lovely time. I love hearing your stories of just like being a good guy in the hobby, like being a hobby angel, if you will.
Thank you, Liz. That means a lot.
There it is.
Good to see you,
The
Liz.
master of wax. Yep. So, Brian, if you want to hang out for a few more minutes, we can talk about this awesome case, because this is the first time I've actually had one in my hand, and this
Slide it
is
open.
slick. It's
Slide it open.
really slick. It's really clean to the point when you're taking it at opening, and one way or the other, that Liz's card's going to get transplanted into this later this evening. She doesn't know that.
There's also a film on
Because
it,
I
too.
have this whole set of 89 Upper Deck myself as far as the base cards with the Griffey. I haven't opened it. It's still in the shrink wrap and everything, because my dad gave it to me a million years ago, and he goes, Griffey's going to be the boy. Make sure you hold on to this. And
Wow.
I got all three. I have 89, 90, 91, and 92 in the shrink wrap still.
Oh,
Brand
that's so
new, because
cool.
my brother and I kept ripping the silvers, because I got to be this person. Our buddy Pete, he remembers those, the silver packs.
Yeah. Oh, there's actually on the front and back of your case is a little piece of, we put a little film on the front and back to make it sure that nobody could scratch them on any kind of transport. So you want to rip off.
I did not see that.
And
that's really cool. But yeah, Brian, this is a really cool product. How did you, I know you talked about it a little bit with the graded cases and everything. How did you end up getting to this idea that, this is going to be the thing that shakes up baseball cards? Because that's the beautiful part of it, is that little, it's so satisfying. It's like, and it's locked in. It's not going anywhere. It's got these little pinches on the side.
Well, where it came from is that I just hated top loaders and one touches as the display options for my cards. I mean, they're okay, but I also had those back in 1990, right? So I wanted to have something that also protected the card, where the card wouldn't rattle. I wanted it to be like with top loaders and one touches, your card can get, the corners can get nicked, or the card will rattle and kind of get damaged that way. I also wanted this to be ultraviolet, like UV protected. And so I put a UV coating on. And so we actually did proper mechanical engineering to make these. Like, it wasn't like, oh, let's just build a case and do a money grab. My goal was, let's use better materials. Let's use stronger magnets. Like, there's 8 magnets in every case, and they're strong magnets. These are actually expensive magnets, to make sure that they had the right kind of polarization as well, so that when you buy multiple, they actually stack, And so I wanted it to be where there was, where these stack, and then the wall displays we're building for them, actually the magnets will hold these to the wall on the wall display. Yeah. So there was a lot.
And the beautiful thing about it is that there's a very nice little, you can't see it when it's together, but there's a very nice little place for the card to actually sit. Yeah. There was no struggling putting this thing in or anything, and it's just get it together, give it a little click. There you got the first part, and then hey, guess what? You got a nice little frame, and it just slaps together really easy. Except I'm having mental patient problems here, because I'm trying to do it while I'm working. But it's really slick. It looks great. This is something that like displaying your hard work. There it is. My brother is jealous of you right now.
Jeet, he deserves something better than a one touch, or I don't. This was really meant for cards people care about that don't want to have necessarily graded. We had a guy reach out to us this week who has a 1969 Mickey Mantle that he got autographed by Mantle when he was a 12-year-old. And he goes, I don't want to send in this card into the graders because I was there. I got that autograph. I don't need a grader to tell me whether it's authentic or not. And I don't need a grader to tell me what it means to me. Like, I'm never going to sell it. So why do I need a grader to tell me it's a 6 or a 7 or an 8? That diminishes how I feel about my card. And he goes, I just want to have it displayed in a beautiful kind of way. And so he goes, I got one of your mint hobby cases, and now it's in there. And so he sent us a little photo or a video, and we ended up posting it because we thought it was so cool. But these are for ungraded cards that you just want to display. And so we're working on a wall display for people to be able to put these cases into a wall display that has like LEDs and has magnetic kind of lock to the wall. And it's meant for display and protection of cards that don't require grading.
And at the end of the day, you found a nice way to tap into all levels too, because you can get this, and if you're just an avid collector and it's not breaking the bank, I think I spent $25-$30 with shipping or something like that is about what it was. But I also just wanted to make sure I had something fun to do with you around the show here. And I'm going to, like I said, Liz is going to have a nice little spot with this right here instead of, so, but it's night and day. I got this Freddie Freeman Awesome card, by the way. But night and day as far as what the quality is. You know, you can get a bunch of these top loaders, to your point, for next to nothing. But this is the same technology that went to the same kind of thing that you did. You walked away from the hobby because life happened for a long time, and you got back into it in spades, by the way. And you just, I can't believe this is still the same thing as when I was a 8-year-old collecting cards and going to the local store and everything like that. That this is still the quote unquote entry level for the stuff. Now that you got something nice that you can have to make sure your awesome, lip lettuce of Goose Gossage in a Cubs uniform can have a great prestigious home, and make sure it's just not like you said. It's if it's important to you, you want to make sure it's got a nice little house to live in. So it's not going anywhere.
Well said. That's why I did this. Is I wanted to give people a better option. I hated that when I walk into card shops today, that it feels like it's the same supplies as was in the 80s. And I thought, well, that's kind of weird. How come nobody's put any attention to creating something better? And so we actually spent, it wasn't like, oh, let's just put something together quick. A lot of love went into making those, because we said, okay, what's it going to take to protect the card? What's it going to take to display it? And what is the engineering? So we actually hired a whole team of mechanical engineers to say, how do you do this the right way? And so that was, a couple of years worth of R&D. And so, yeah, like you said, they're pricier. They're $24.99 and on our website right now. And we're going to get suppliers all around the world. But we've already shipped to probably, 20 different countries. And but we wanted to do this because, it's just, and the people that are sending us pictures of their cards, their favorite cards, they're the ones that mean a lot to them. They've been sending us pictures of them with heartfelt stories about how they finally have a nice way to display it. And so that's what we set out to do. And now I'm the biggest customer is actually myself. I'm putting all my favorite cards in them. And then,
or you're shipping them to friends.
Or, and then we're doing scavenger hunts. So have you seen our scavenger hunts? Yeah, they're cool.
I have seen your scavenger hunts. That's really cool what you're doing. Like I said, Brian, I can't get enough of, like I said, I just hope that sometime that if you're here in the, general area of Rochester, New York, that we get a chance to get a beer and talk some baseball and the hobby and whatnot, because it will be a good time. And I just can't say enough good things about all the stuff that you're doing, and keep your team doing what you're doing. Your little barbecue that you had, I think it's funny. And I wish Liz was on the show still here to tell this story. A couple of the friends of hers that I've had the luxury of meeting over the year, of going back and forth since she's been on this show. My friends Peter and Rachel, I'm giving them a shout out, and he's the one that was asking about the silver packs a minute ago. I was curious. I wanted to do something really nice because they just welcomed me in to this group with goofing around with them at the ball games. And I'm from Rochester, New York. They're friends from literally another country to me, and they've accepted me in as a great friend group. And I was like, I just want to do something nice for them. So I actually bought 2 brand new boxes of Top Series 1 when I went up for one of my trips last a couple weeks ago, and we're going to go to the ball game, and I just told them I had a surprise. I didn't tell them what we were going to be doing. Oh, and Brian will hop back here in a sec, but it was one of those things that we just did and had a great time goofing around, coming back, and we opened up all the cards, ripped them, and having a bartender that looked like Paul Skeens was pretty funny when we were gifting him Paul Skeens cards. We'll go from there, but give Brian a second to hop back on here. See, a lot of you in the chat, 157 of you still hanging out with me here in Strawn, as Brian hopefully will be back in a second. What are those favorite memories that you have while you've been collecting cards and goofing around and having a good time? What's the hobby? Or if you just want to switch gears for a moment and talk Toronto Blue Jays baseball, we will obviously do that as well, because what a heck of a winning streak are we on right now. Blue Jays have been on fire. I forget what it was, but if we even just, I think they were 21-10 now for the last month. We're going to just hopefully keep powering through this. I'm actually looking very, very happy to see Will Robertson getting a promotion too. it's going to be really cool to see what his power can do to the Blue Jays on the bench. I know it sucks that Nathan Lucas has been unfortunately sidelined temporarily with the concussion, but I hope speedy recovery. Nate hopefully gets a chance to hang out with his family and whatnot back at home, his newborn child. So, hey, buddy, welcome back. Don't worry, I stalled so I can continue the story.
Oh, man, I want to hear the story. I'm like, what's happened? There we go.
Right.
Charge your laptop.
So,
charge your laptop.
There it is. So I won't keep you too much longer. Let's get to the end of the hour here. So I'm hanging out in the bar after the ball game, after a Blue Jay victory, after the beginning of the season, which was really rough for Toronto Blue Jays fans because it was a roller coaster. Doesn't quite summarize it. And this was the only win we had against the Cleveland Guardians in that series early in the year. And so, like I said, we were flying high, had a great night at the ballpark, and we just were looking for a bar to hang out with. And I brought these, the two cases or the two hobby boxes of the Top Series 1 with us. I ended up being right that they had not opened baseball cards before. And of course, now there's more beer involved, pizza at the bar, shots, and goofing around, having a great time. And the funnier thing is we're sitting there ripping cards and just having a blast. Rachel ended up pulling this wonderful one that for some reason came home with me. I don't get it. So Rachel, I'm holding your equipment here. So our bartender was a Pittsburgh Pirates fan and was literally a doppelganger for Paul Skeens. So we ended up gifting him a Paul Skeens card, and then he ended up being like our best friend and kept feeding us beers the rest of the night. So, but it was really cool to share that rip with them, kind of like you guys did on your little porch patio party there with your 1989 case rip.
No, it's cool that you did that. And it's amazing how many people end up, doing something like that and then wanting to buy, pick up their own cards or go through their own cards from their childhood or go and buy a box of like Topps, Series 1 or whatever. And that's why it was kind of a dream come true, putting a bunch of my friends together and my girlfriend, and we all sat in the back and just had an incredible day. Like I was thinking of it more as like, okay, this is kind of a work thing because the Upper Deck cards are meant to promote our products, but then it kind of got in the zone, and next thing you know, we're eating the food, and it turned into like a full-on party, and we had wrappers everywhere. Upper Deck foil was absolutely everywhere. We destroyed the patio, and
it looked like the funnier part of the whole thing is like, because you don't realize, even when we were sitting there at the at the bar at the table, we were sitting in this little booth in the corner. It's like, oh my god, what do we do with all this?
Yeah,
just exactly.
Wrappers everywhere. And I always like that the local card shop here on trade nights. They'll just leave the wrappers on the floor, so people are just throwing and chucking wrappers the whole evening.
It's like going to a bar and having peanuts, and you just throw the shells everywhere, right?
And we ended up collecting all 1,420 hologram stickers because Upper Deck would always put 2 hologram stickers in. And I don't know if you saw it.
I did notice that. I meant to say it. They fell out and hit me. These look a little familiar, these mint hologram things. That's too funny and that's too awesome. But these are the kind of things I like about how you do your stuff, Brian. It's the little touches to things that are the perfect part to it. And you can see your soul and your vibe in everything you do, and I just that's what I love about it. That's the same thing we like to do for around here, and that's why I think we've had such a good time with you here on the show. But there was one ding I had. Somebody nailed you on the Craig Biggio thing, but I was surprised that scene, it did turn into a party, and I saw you commented back to this on this whole thing. That whiteboard that you were doing your pack rip didn't quite have a beer count.
Yeah, no, you're right.
It was like the one thing.
We did mess that up, and then the count on that was very high by the end of the night. Yeah.
That's what will happen when you're having that much fun, especially with, like you said, an hour and a half long pack or a case break is nothing subtle. That's like what my friends are doing on the We the Hobby shows and stuff like that. So it's crazy. It's good stuff.
Like I had a buddy of mine. One of the guys that was there was my freshman year in college roommate, and he brought his wife with him, and they've never really opened packs. And next thing you know, they're just completely getting into it. And, we put out this little bell where we're having people ring the bell every time they found one of the key cards. And so the excitement, I thought it would kind of wane after like 20, 30 minutes, but the opposite happened. We started the excitement started growing, and my girlfriend was ripping packs, having a great time. And she got really excited every time her last name's Viola. So every time she found a Frank Viola card, she'd get really excited. And so that was a lot of fun. And then the very last pack, somebody handed it to me. So the very last of 720 packs, we'd gone through all those cards, and there was 18 Griffies up on the whiteboard. Somebody handed me the last pack, and they're like, okay, this is the last pack of the whole rip. And I opened the pack thinking, let's just ceremoniously, we'll just kind of go through it as a final pack. And like the 7th card in or so, Ken Griffey Jr. was the 19th we found. And we all just lost our minds because we're like, what are the odds of that? The very last pack of the whole case, and out of all 700.
You hit the last.
And there was
you hit the shot with a buzzer running down, and you won the game right there. That's how it is.
Yeah, that's magic.
That's too funny.
Pure magic.
That's really cool. So we got a good question in the chat here. Amongst some other things here, I wanted to do this one. As far as you're collecting, for a young collector, new collector, whatever it might be, what would be a good box or a good something? What would you recommend to being such a friend of the hobby for somebody just getting started these days?
Great question, Michael. What I would do is I would totally, if I was just starting out, I would go to a local card shop, and I would buy like whatever sport I'm into, baseball, basketball, football. I'm assuming you're into baseball if you're on this podcast, but like I would go in and I would get myself like a blaster box, like the cheapest box of 2025 Topps Series 1. And I would just kind of get to know what it feels like to rip a pack of cards and what it's like. I wouldn't want to spend any money. So a blaster box might cost you $25 or $30. Should cost you $25 or $30. And if I had a little bit of extra cash, I'd probably I'd get a box of Topps Chrome. I'd get something a little nicer, or a blaster box of Bowman, or Bowman Chrome. They don't do blaster box. I'd get blaster box of Bowman, and because you get the prospects in there, and you're looking for the fun cards. Or if I had a bunch more money, I'd get myself a hobby box of like Bowman. That's where I would start. But it really depends on everyone's budget. If I just want to rip some packs and have a good time, I'd go buy a box of 1989 Topps. That way you're having the history, you're finding a bunch of Hall of Fame players, and you should only be spending like $10, $15, $20 for a box of that at 36.
Exactly. Yeah, that 89 Topps was always one of mine. When I find a pack of those, I just can't help but buy it. There's something about that nostalgia with the ribbon. And that was the first year I really started collecting with my dad, goofing around. And as my brother was, just old enough to start coming out and hanging out with us, and we had a wonderful card shop in the village of Fairport, New York, where I grew up here. And I still remember my buddy Steve going down there and buying way too many Roberto Alomar cards. Not the best investment, but I have them.
Yeah.
But that was my favorite player growing up. So it is what it is. And
hey, Mark, that's mine, man.
Memories to your point. Exactly. It's that nice snapshot. But I gotta ask you, as far as your recent stuff, because this was a really cool idea that I thought you had. You pulled a certain card that was a high-end refractor or whatever from a Bowman from like an 02, I think, or a 2022 or something like that, and you actually visited the gentleman. I now you're trying to get like the get 6 degrees from that pack rip going every time. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that and share it with our group.
Oh man, it's so cool. This one I'm really excited about I ripped a box of 2005 Bowman Chrome, and in it there's one autograph per box. So starting in 2002, Bowman or Topps would put in one autograph card into each of their hobby boxes, and it's been that way ever since 2002. That was the first year that there was a guaranteed autograph card in every box. And so I ripped 2005 because I was looking for this guy. I was looking for a Justin Verlander rookie card, and I just thought I'd rip a box of it. And in that box, lo and behold, there was a Jeff Lyman rookie card autograph. I didn't know who Jeff Lyman was. I didn't know anything about him. And so when we put the post up, my editor thought it would be funny to stick his face on the side of a milk carton and said, does anyone know?
That's what you do when you're looking for. That's what you're doing when you're looking for somebody, right?
Yeah. And so we didn't know anything about this guy. And like within a day or two, he reached out and he goes, that's me. That's my rookie card. And he's like, I live up in the Bay Area. And he's like, we'd love to meet up sometime. And so I thought, man, what'd be the coolest thing is to actually go and rip another box with this guy and find whoever's the next rookie in the box, and then go chase down that rookie. But we'll start at 2002. So I literally drove up to the Bay just 2 days ago, and he and I met up at a card shop in Danville, California. Nicest guy ever. Jeff Lyman, I have nothing but the nicest things to say about this guy. Gracious baseball player. Loved hanging out with him. And in fact, the card shop we went into was closed that day, but he asked the card shop owner if he'd open it for us so we could just have this venue for us to sit in and talk. So we go in there and he's got all of his, he's got a bunch of his old rookie cards from back in the day, and we were telling stories. And then we ripped a box of 2002. I figured we'll start at the beginning. So we ripped a box of 2002. If we could get the name of the player so in the very first pack, he ended up finding Nate Fields or something. I can't remember the player's name.
Okay.
But he didn't know who this player was. Probably a prospect, a minor league player that, destined for greatness. And so my new plan now is to go and track down that player. And then wherever that player lives, I'm going to fly to that player. And then we're going to open 2003 Bowman Chrome.
There you go.
We're going to go to the next, go to the next, go to the next until we have found, until we get to 2025. Yeah. And so
the beautiful thing about that whole thing is you're collecting all these awesome stories from minor league baseball players or major league baseball players, depending on who you end up ripping into, that maybe their stories hadn't been heard. Because that's the thing that I love Bowman and I love being able to collect that. But there is just so many youngsters crammed into those boxes of cards that it's... I don't know if I want to know what the number is of how many of them actually make it to the major leagues. And we actually have had one of our better friends of the show, Bob File, is a Toronto Blue Jays former relief pitcher, but he is very proud of the fact that he was not assuming he was ever going to get to the majors. And he's the 17,287th player ever to play Major League Baseball for the Toronto Blue Jays and played very, very well. Don't kid yourself, Bob. I know you're listening.
That's so...
But it's that kind of thing. You're getting those stories that you probably would likely not hear. And it's great that you're doing that. I really think that's a really cool series that you're going to start there. And it is almost like the 6 degrees from the first pack rip from the whole thing. And I'm wondering if you're ever going to get like, oh, this guy was my roommate. When you're ripping those packs.
That guy the guy we just ripped with was Freddie Freeman's college roommate. That was kind of cool. And so
there you go.
And he's still friends with all these players, and he's still very much in the baseball world. And so there was a lot of stories. And then when we turned the cameras off, there were even more stories. And but it was kind of fun though. In that 2002 box, I ended up in the one pack. I pulled a Albert Pujols. That's his second year card, and in fact, it's the only card you can pull of his now that's out of Bowman Chrome, because you can't pull a 2001 Bowman Chrome Albert Pujols. So I pulled the base card, and then like the very next pack, he pulls the refractor Pujols. And so the card's actually worth something. So that actually turned out to be the box we ended up made a profit on the box, funny enough.
It's even better because now you can turn around and pay for your 04 and your 05 and
yep, that's what's going to happen
every single year. Financing your road trip, bud.
Yeah, or I'm going to lose my shirt.
Yeah, one or the other, but that's the hobby too.
Yeah, exactly.
You never know what you're going to get, and I think that's part of the fun of the whole experience to it. There's that randomness. There's that oh my god moment when you do pull something really cool. I recently had one of those oh my god and then what the heck kind of moment all in once, because I'm very much into the cards that are more in the ballpark of the heritage or the archive, because I love the mix of the new and the modern players, along with I pull a Cal Ripken card, I get all excited, or anything like that. That mix of the current and old is my jam. So I'm ripping 2024 archive, Topps archive, and it literally did feel heavy. I'm not just making the joke. And I opened up the pack and there's a print plate in it. I've never pulled one of those before. Or I've never even pulled a one of anything. And I flipped over who it was, and I went, out of all the people, that's the one. It was a Jose Altuve. And as a Blue Jay fan, it's just like, okay, great. They were cheating that whole year. We were good that year. This is how it is.
No, you pulled the enemy. As a Dodgers fan, Altuve is the enemy. Yep.
Exactly. So, but Brian, we're wrapping the end of the show here. I want to make sure we've already obviously talked your wonderful product and all the things that are going on in your wonderful life here with things around the hobby. This is your moment to shine. Talk about whatever you would like. Give us your shameless self-promoting bit, my friend.
Well, I feel like the whole time I've been shamelessly self-promoting. Actually, I just want to say thank you, Craig.
Officially.
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing me on here. I always enjoy talking to you and Liz and Jason, and you guys have always been warm and welcoming to me. And no, I just, my goal was to, with what I do with social media was to hopefully entertain and inspire. And with my product lines, the same thing, entertain and inspire. The products I'm building, whether they're the Mint hobby cases or the Mint Case G1, which is our flagship, we'll be releasing later this summer. I just want to make things improve upon everything that's already out there, improve products for people, make their cards more beautiful, have a better experience with them, or content, try to make the best possible experience I can for people. I wanted to make this hobby as fun as possible, because a lot of people have lost that view, and they only focus on the kind of the shyster side and the money side, or the gambling side, or a lot of the negative side.
Yeah.
So it's too much in the breaker side of negativity. And so I was hoping to kind of be a bit of a balance to that. And so I'm just having a great time. The people I do this with are all good people. And so appreciate good guys like you, Craig, having me on here.
Appreciate it, bud.
Talk about baseball and baseball cards. It's fun stuff, man. Having a great time. And yes,
Yep.
when I come to Rochester, we'll definitely go out, man.
Perfect, buddy. So I didn't get anybody from Liz, but I do have our little game that we do play here that we finish the show with every week, and that is our picks to click. I guess I'm gonna test you kind of on your Blue Jay fandom here a little bit, because you are sporting the uniform this evening.
That's brutal.
So last week we every week we have our guests, the three of us as our hosts of the show. We talk about who has had the best week in Blue Jays baseball, and then we predict who is going to have the best week in Toronto Blue Jays baseball this week. I don't think I had many arguing points. Is the Alejandro Kirk has been infinitely the best player in Major League Baseball, maybe over the last week. He is batting .500 with 3 home runs and like almost 10 RBIs, and it's insane what this gentleman has done for 7 days in a row. But we actually had a really good picking for the first time in a long time here. But Liz has a demanding lead so far, so I'm glad that she's not going to get a win so far. She had Addison Barger last week for the record. Jason, you actually had the default because Kirky had a rough week the week before. Yeah, Alejandro Kirk with the win. I picked Ernie Clement because he's from Rochester, New York, and he was riding a hot streak. And then obviously our guest being Bob File last week, he picked Vladdy because why not pick Vladdy? So, Brian, you're our guest, and you get to pick who you think is going to have the best week in Toronto Blue Jays baseball before we record next week.
I'm going to go with. I would have said Vladdy, but I'm going to say Bo Bichette or Addison Barger. So we're going to say
both good picks.
Yeah, Addison or Bo. So I'm going to go Bo Bichette.
Oh, Bo. All right. I've been trying to get a nickname started for frickin' Addison Barger because everybody's just calling him Bam Bam Barger, which has a wonderful ring to it. But he walks around like this monstrous, like he could be a pro wrestler or something like that. So I've been nicknaming him Captain Jacked because he hits giant monster home runs at the same time.
After you said that, and after what you did with Freddie Freeman, let's go Captain Jacked Addison Barger. Let's do it.
Oh, okay. Good deal. And then got Vladdy for her. She already gave me her pick. So got Vladdy for Liz. Kirky won for last week for Jason. I'll have to ask him, but I think I'm just going to give him Bo. And then I am going to ride Andres Jimenez because he's been coming off the DL hot. So we're going to ride that and see where it goes. But that's the other pick. And seeing we have a guest on next week that is a minor league young gentleman named Nick Goodwin. Is there a question that you would like to pass from this show to Nick Goodwin as a minor league baseball player, just for something fun to get the conversation going? We've gotten some good ones from our guests.
I would want to know what is his favorite interaction with a Major League Baseball player that he's ever had?
It's a good one, bud, because I'm sure he's gotten a few because he's been in the minors a few years now. He's had to have run in some decent major league players at this point.
Always run into a major league player at some point that inspired them, or that they got a chance to tell them something. What I've noticed is the minor league players always have some cool story about running into a major league player somewhere that inspired them or taught them something new or gave them some life advice or what have you. So that's what I would ask.
Guess we're gonna have to ask a few Buffalo Bisons that this week, because we are gonna finally get some Max Scherzer in for Blue Jays fandom, as far as him coming back hopefully on Friday night. So started that journey, but I hope so, because I would love to see him, because it just seems like he's got too much good to rot away in the last few years here, but is what it is, unfortunately. So Brian, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Appreciate it. Thanks for suiting up. I hope you have a better time next time you go to your Dodgers and your baseball cards together, bud.
Thanks so much, Craig. Really appreciate it, brother.
All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in. There's still 184 of you in the chat. We greatly appreciate the questions we got this evening. Make sure you tune in live every week on Wednesdays. It might vary a little in time depending on who our guests are, but we are here every Wednesday live to talk all things Toronto Blue Jays baseball, the hobby, whatever baseball fun we happen to have. So make sure you tune in, and we will catch you next week, everybody. Cheers.
Thank you for listening to the Jay Bird Watching Podcast. Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch at BirdwatchingGC, and our YouTube channel. If you want to support the show and get extra content, please consider joining to our Patreon at patreon.com/birdwatchinggc. Go Jays, go.
Woo!